Hey there, welcome back. I'm glad you tuned back into the channel today. This is going to be Motivation Monday. And what I'm going to do is be giving you just a tip or two that I think could help you significantly when you start maybe feeling a little down about the progress that you've made, or even about the motivation that you're requiring and needing to kind of get a jump start on things if you're thinking about your health, your fitness. So, our first Motivation Monday tip is going to be how to stay on track when you feel like everything you've been doing hasn't been turning out. It's really interesting. I'll go with a question that I had asked to me this morning from a client who is a smoker. And they're trying to stop smoking, and it's been a little bit of a challenge because everything that they've been trying to do has kind of fallen by the wayside. I think it's because they haven't had a little bit of traction with regards to the implementation of the things they've been doing, and none of their little self-imposed tactics have been working. So one of the things that I had asked is, have you taken a closer look at the systems that you've put in place, or the processes to help create a little bit of a win along the way? And what I mean by that is, for instance, if I want to lose weight and I don't want to rely upon the scale, which they say you should never do. I use it from time to time as like a double checks and balances, but not solely as an instrument to use for measurement. But one of the things I like to do is take like a pair of pants that I have, and I'll put them on. If they're feeling a little snug, then I know, oh man, I've probably picked up a little bit of additional weight that I could probably do without. But I'll keep that as one means of a benchmark. Another tool I like to use is maybe a seamstress tape measure. I don't have one that's close by right now, but I use one of those from time to time as well as a secondary. And then as a tertiary, I might use the scale. So these are little tools that I have that I put in place to help me be able to benchmark the success or the progress, so that way I know I'm creating wins and I'm not relying on one thing. So back to them and the cigarette smoking, I said, okay, what are some tools or some benchmarks that you can use? Well, you can go with how many cigarettes are you smoking on average. You can go with money spent on average. You can go with the urges and the triggers. What do you know that happens to you externally that you react to that would more than likely cause you to want to fire up a cigarette? So when you find the lowest hanging fruit, in my opinion, that you know cause you to smoke more or go out to buy a pack of cigarettes, pay attention to those little signs and use those as little benchmarks to observe. So when you can curtail that a little bit and say, okay, in this example, I'll say that my clients, with their children, if the child is upsetting them or annoying them and they get overly frustrated, like, you know what, I could just really have a cigarette. Pay attention to that urge. Then the next thing you do is you try not to give in to that as a result of the stimulus or the trigger. So you find something else to replace that with. So that could be, instead of going out in the backyard or out on the porch or go take a drive in your car and smoke, you could dump 1,000-piece puzzle on the dining room table and work on that for 15 minutes, just to get your brain out of the habit of defaulting to smoking, but yet you can interrupt that cycle by replacing it with something. So this was just one of the little tips that I'd given them in that strategy, and hopefully they'll take that. But this can be parlayed over into fitness as well. Using the weight loss example that I just talked about, using the jeans or the seamstress tape measure, I have found that these little things that I put in place really do keep me monitoring my progress. Because if I don't, I'll kind of let myself slip if I go too long without really dialing back in and taking a look at what I'm doing. So another thing to take a look at in this little tip I'll share with you is another example. I had a client to help them stay motivated and feeling good about their process that they already had in place. They said, Tim, I really strayed from my nutritional regimen over the weekend. I know that I went over my caloric intake and my needs by several hundred calories, but I had a great time doing it. I said, you know what? Don't beat up on yourself. Here's what we'll do. Here's a strategy. Rather than you punishing yourself the next day, what you should do is take the amount of calories that you've gone over yesterday, right? And then you average that out over the course of 7 days. So divide, say for instance, it wasn't this much, but divide 700 calories by 7 days, and that gives you 100. You reduce your daily caloric intake by 100 calories over the course of 7 days. So that way on the 8th day, you've netted back to 0 and you're right back at square one. I like that approach because it gives you a little bit of a permission to be human, to, I won't say fall off the wagon, more like a deviation, a slight deviation, a 1 week deviation. Because we all have slip-ups, and it doesn't make sense for us to really come down hard on ourselves and punish ourselves and starve ourselves, because it's just not the way life works. So if you really like some of these tips and tricks that I've shared with you, definitely message me. Leave a message in the comment below. Hit the like button, subscribe button. I really appreciate any feedback that you can give, and be looking forward to the next video coming up for Weight Loss Wednesdays. I think you're going to like this one too. Have a great rest of your day.